Nutrition and Forestry to order, and we are so pleased today to be here to consider the nominations of Dr. Shavonda Jacobs-Young for Undersecretary of Research, Education, and Economics, and Margo Schlenger for Assistant Secretary for Civil Rights at the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Welcome to both of you. The roles they have been nominated to fill are fundamental to supporting farmers and ranchers and fostering trust in the department. American farmers and ranchers have had a competitive advantage on the world stage thanks in no small part to the quality of our agricultural research sector. In fact, every dollar invested in agricultural research returns over $17 to our economy. If confirmed as Undersecretary of Research, Education, and Economics, Dr. Jacobs-Young would oversee USDA's major research agencies, including the Office of the Chief Scientist, the Agricultural Research Service, the National Institute of Food and Agriculture, the Economic Research Service, and the National Agricultural Statistics Service. Whether it's Michigan State University, go green, finding ways to increase cherry yields, or the University of Arkansas optimizing water use in rice production, agricultural research, education, and extension is fundamental to ensuring an abundant food supply and building resiliency in the agriculture system. The need for research doesn't stop there. Farmers rely on USDA economics and statistics for insights into markets, costs, and trade to make informed decisions about their business operations. And congressional and USDA leaders use data to better support farmers and ranchers who grow different products in different parts of the country. Sadly, over the past few years, USDA's research agencies have had high employee vacancy rates, struggled to find the researchers they need with scientific expertise in agricultural sciences. If confirmed, Dr. Jacobs-Young will need to rebuild a diverse workforce and talent pool. As a longtime leader at the USDA, Dr. Jacobs-Young is perfectly situated for the role of leading research, education, and economics. She is well respected by her peers, the academic community, and the agricultural industry. Just as there is work to be done within USDA's research programs, there is much to be done within the Office of Civil Rights as well. It is no secret that the USDA has had a troubled history when it comes to civil rights. As the arbiter of equal opportunity across the department, the Assistant Secretary for Civil Rights plays a critical role in making good on Secretary Vilsack's promise to build a culture of inclusion for USDA staff and the public that the USDA serves. For farmers and communities historically left out of the USDA's work, improving equity, accountability, and access in USDA employment and USDA programs will be a game changer. Diversity broadens our horizons of what's possible, and more participants contributing to our farm economy builds our economic strength. If confirmed as Assistant Secretary for Civil Rights, Ms. Schlanger is well suited to lead these efforts. She is a leading authority on civil rights issues. She is a strong advocate for protecting the civil rights of employees and customers within federal agencies. She's also experienced as a top civil rights official in the Obama administration and has practical experience implementing civil rights protections. Thank you to Dr. Jacobs-Young and Ms. Schlanger for joining us today. I look forward to hearing your visions for the department in your respective mission areas if confirmed. I would note that you both have received letters of support from multiple agencies, and I ask unanimous consent that these letters be entered into the record. Without objection, so ordered. And with that, I will turn to my colleague and ranking member, Senator Bozeman, for any opening comments that he would like to make.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I'm pleased to welcome Shavonda Jacobs-Young, the President's nominee for Undersecretary for Research, Education, and Economics, and Ms. Margo Schlanger, nominated to be the Department of Agriculture's Assistant Secretary for Civil Rights. Dr. Jacobs-Young has already had a long and storied career in the Department of Agriculture, serving in various leadership roles, including Administrator of the Agriculture Research Service, Acting Director of the National Institute of Food and Agriculture, and she has even served in an acting capacity twice for the position in which she is nominated. She is a proud alum of a distinguished land-grant institution, North Carolina State University, where she earned her baccalaureate, master's, and PhD. She began her career as an assistant professor at University of Washington before moving to Washington, D.C. to become a national program leader at the Agriculture Research Service. She has served American agriculture very well in her career, and I'm pleased she is willing to continue her service in this role. The remission area plays a vital role in spearheading the nation's agriculture research enterprise through the National Institute of Food and Agriculture. It is the federal leg of the three-legged stool that funds our land-grant universities, which support American farmers, ranchers, and consumers through county-level cooperative extension services, regional and state experiment stations, and first-rate academics. It leads to the Department of Agriculture's chief scientific agency, the Agricultural Research Service, and the Economic Research Service. Finally, it houses the National Agricultural Statistics Service, the hardworking, dedicated staff tasked with the challenging job of documenting the successes of American agriculture through various surveys and the Census of Agriculture. That's a lot. Dr. Jacobs-Young, who you've been asked to lead one of the most important and foundational missionaries at the department, I'm confident that you have the experience and knowledge to lead it well. Congratulations on your nomination. I look forward to your comments today. Ms. Margo Schlenger has an equally long and distinguished career in public service, specifically in the field of civil rights. She's held positions at the Department of Homeland Security and the Department of Justice. She's taught at Harvard Law School, Washington University in St. Louis, the University of California, and in her current post at the University of Michigan School of Law. And she served as a law clerk for the late Associate Justice of the United States Supreme Court, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. The position of Assistant Secretary for Civil Rights leads the Department of Agriculture civil rights programs, including matters related to program delivery, compliance, and equal employment opportunity. The Assistant Secretary is responsible for ensuring the fair and equitable treatment of both customers and employees. Professor, you are taking on a challenging office that handles very sensitive issues. Numerous OIG and GAO reports outline ongoing challenges at the department that need to be addressed. If you are fortunate enough to be confirmed, you will need to focus on how USDA handles civil rights cases or claims efficiently and effectively. In addition, I challenge you to give measured thought about how civil rights are woven into the fabric of all that the department does prospectively, and to work to ensure that no USDA program or employee or contractor acts in a discriminate manner. Further, what is important is that when USDA develops programs to address civil rights, that it does so in a manner that ensures transparency and predictability. This has been a problem as the administration's attempts in the American Rescue Plan to provide debt relief for certain classes of farmers is now caught up in the courts as a result of numerous lawsuits. Ham-handed efforts such as these help no one. Ms. Schlanger, congratulations on your nomination, and thank you for your willingness to serve the country once again. I also look forward to your comments. And with that, I yield back, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. And I would now like to officially welcome you and officially introduce each of you. Dr. Shavonda Jacobs-Young has held leadership roles at multiple research agencies at USDA, including Director of the Office of the Chief Scientist and Acting Director for the National Institute of Food and Agriculture. She has also served as an advisor to the Obama administration in a variety of agricultural scientific activities while at the White House Office of Science and Technology Policy. If confirmed, Dr. Jacobs-Young will be the first woman of color to serve as Undersecretary for Research, Education, and Economics, which is the department's highest scientific post. But this is just one of many impressive firsts for Dr. Jacobs-Young. She was the first African-American woman in the country to receive a PhD in wood and paper science, the first woman of color to serve as the administrator for the Agricultural Research Service. Dr. Jacobs-Young is a native of Augusta, Georgia. She received her BS, MS, and PhD from North Carolina State University, where she was also a 3-time ACC track champion. That's very impressive. Dr. Jacobs-Young has dedicated her career to public service. Her commitment to science, research, and education in service to the American people should be an inspiration to the next generation of students, scientists, and leaders in the research space. If confirmed, she will be tasked with protecting scientific integrity and helping USDA build a diverse and resilient scientific workforce. Margo Schlenger, welcome to the committee officially as well. Margo Schlenger is a leading authority on civil rights issues. She is currently the Wade H. and Doris M. McCree Collegiate Professor of Law at the University of Michigan Law School. Go Blue. And she founded and directs the Civil Rights Litigation Clearinghouse, a national repository of information about large-scale civil rights cases. She's the author of dozens of law review and other scholarly articles. Ms. Schranger was appointed by President Obama in 2010 and 2011 to serve as Officer for Civil Rights and Civil Liberties at the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. As the head of Civil Rights and Civil Liberties for DHS, she was the Secretary's lead advisor on civil rights and civil liberties issues. If confirmed, Ms. Schlenger brings valuable practical experience in implementing procedural solutions for agency oversight and enforcement of civil rights protections. A graduate of Yale College and Yale Law School, Ms. Schlenger clerked for Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg for her first 2 terms on the U.S. Supreme Court. I'd now like to ask both of you to rise, and we need to ask a couple of questions. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you. And secondly, do you agree that if confirmed, you will appear before any duly constituted committee of Congress if asked to appear? Thank you very much. Your testimony will be made a part of the record in its entirety, and you may proceed as you so desire. We'll start with Dr. Jacobs-Young for 5 minutes of testimony, followed by Ms. Schlenger. Welcome again.
Chairman Stabenow, Ranking Member Bozeman, and members of this committee. Thank you for the opportunity to appear before you today in consideration of my nomination. I have served the American people for 2 decades at the United States Department of Agriculture. It is now my honor to be nominated by President Biden to lead the Research, Education, and Economics mission area as Undersecretary. If confirmed, I look forward to supporting Secretary Vilsack to meet the high priority challenges before us. I want to thank my husband, Arlen Young, and my children, Autumn and Arlen Jr., for their unwavering support over the years as I dedicated myself to public service and the mission of USDA. Most would say this little girl, with her early start in a place called The Bottom in Augusta, Georgia, is an unlikely candidate to be here before you today. My mom, Clyde Coppin was a first-generation college graduate of the Medical College of Georgia and a divorced single parent. She taught me, through demonstration and elevated expectations, the value of education, persistence, and hard work on improving my quality of life. She successfully broke the cycle of poverty and ensured that my sisters and I were all college graduates. My passion for science and fascination with understanding how things work have been constants in my life. From receiving my first chemistry set in elementary school, to running my own laboratory as a faculty member at the University of Washington, and to leading the world's finest agricultural research institution. Seeking solutions to challenges is in my blood. To get here, I've had to blaze several new trails. I'm a lot of firsts. First African-American PhD in the country in my field, first African-American faculty member in my department at the University of Washington, and now the first female and first African-American administrator of the Agricultural Research Service. Being many firsts has taught me humility, as well as given me strength and confidence. While being the first has been defining thus far, it is more important to me now that I am not the last. That's why I have a personal commitment to paying it forward and paving the way for others. Over the course of my career, as I've successfully led efforts both nationally and globally, I hope I have expanded the perception of what an agricultural scientist looks like. I am thankful for this opportunity. I have had the best experience working at USDA. I've learned the power of applying collaboration and innovation to pressing agricultural challenges and how to focus in and deliver impactful scientific solutions. The United States is blessed with one of the safest, most abundant, and diverse food supplies in the world. Science and innovation have been key to making it so. If confirmed as REE Undersecretary, I will bring to the role considerable agricultural research expertise and leadership experience, as well as an unquenchable enthusiasm for the scientific endeavor, which I've had since my mom bought me that first chemistry set. I'll bring my proven background as an innovator and creative problem solver. And most exciting to me, I'll bring my commitment to inspire, mentor, and develop the next generation of agricultural professionals. Thank you for having me here today. I am looking forward to our discussion.
Thank you so much. Ms. Schlanger, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Chairwoman Stabenow, Ranking Member Bozeman, and members of the committee. I am honored to be with you today and grateful and humbled by President Biden's nomination of me to serve as Assistant Secretary for Civil Rights for the U.S. Department of Agriculture. I'm grateful, too, for Secretary Vilsack's support. I come before you buoyed by abundant love and support from my family. With me is my husband, Sam Bagenstas. Sam and I met as young civil rights lawyers at the Department of Justice, and I have relied on his wisdom and encouragement ever since. Watching remotely, I think, are our two amazing children, Harry and Layla, who are seniors in college. I lean as well on the support and love of my father, sister, and two brothers. One of my brothers has been especially excited by the possibility that I might work at the Department of Agriculture because of nearly 10 years that he spent as a vegetable farmer, an experience I learned a great deal from as well, vicariously. I wish to honor as well Ruth Bader Ginsburg, for whom I clerked and whose memory is a blessing. I learned more than I can say from Justice Ginsburg. Civil rights have been the core of my professional life since law school, and what I mean by that is that I have focused my work on expanding equality and fairness. My whole career has been about building tools and processes within complex organizations to help them respect civil rights. If I'm privileged to be confirmed, I would be excited to bring my experience to USDA. I've learned many relevant lessons from my past efforts as a civil rights lawyer and as a professor, as the head of a different federal cabinet department civil rights office, and as a court-appointed independent monitor in a civil rights statewide case. Among those lessons, affected individuals have enormous insight into the problems they face and the solutions that they need. Providing them a route to share their experience and taking their input seriously is necessary for solving those problems. Change requires will and collaborative problem solving, and I'm committed to that. And finally, transparency and information sharing are powerful tools. If confirmed, I'll work to use those lessons to address a number of urgent priorities. The first one is addressing distrust. I understand that distrust exists towards USDA's Civil Rights Office among communities and individuals who have been excluded from access to USDA programs. I believe that those affected individuals and communities have wisdom to share, and I look forward to spending a lot of time listening to them and building trust by being responsive to what I learn. Second priority is addressing the criticisms of the Programmatic complaint program. I believe that this complaint process, must be open and easy to access. It must be fair and competent and able to accurately assess complaints. And it must be speedy enough to actually solve violations when they are found. Where violations are not found, speed is necessary too, to enable the agency and the complainant to move on. And the complainant process must offer effective remediation. And third, a priority of helping to build a civil rights culture. Secretary Vilsack has committed to build a culture that supports and reinforces civil rights at USDA. That means assessing the hundreds of programs the department runs and thinking about barriers to access, and it means embedding civil rights in the department's important decisions. Secretary Vilsack has pledged to eliminate discrimination at USDA, and he has promised a system of rigorous reporting, accountability, and oversight in all the department's efforts. He said this is a top priority. I agree that there is no place at USDA for discrimination. We need both backward and forward-looking action to repair past mistakes and to ensure that there are no new ones. In 1864, President Lincoln called USDA, the department he had founded, the People's Department, and that should not merely be an aspiration. USDA can and should be a department for all people, removing barriers to access, and committing to equality and fairness in all of its activities. I'm honored to be considered to play a role in this mission. I look forward to your questions, and if I am confirmed, to working with you in the future.
Thank you very much to both of you. And so we'll begin questioning, 5-minute rounds now and questioning. And first I'd start with Dr. Jacobs-Young. The most pressing issue in agriculture right now are the incredible weather swings and the threats posed by the climate crisis. Farmers want to be part of the solution and certainly have already been part in terms of conservation practices, and they are eager to do more. And agricultural research plays an important part in giving them the critical tools to mitigate and adapt to the extreme changes in our climate. Can you please describe your vision for USDA's research enterprise in addressing these threats and possible solutions? I think we may need, just to make sure your volume is on. Is your mic on?
Take two.
Oh, great. All right.
Thank you for your question. USDA has been a leader in climate science. I'm very proud of the long-term infrastructure we have inside of USDA, our 18 LTAR sites across the country, our long-term agro-ecosystem research network sites, where we invite the farmers and producers in to be a part of the development process for climate-smart practices, to be able to test those climate-smart practices, to de-risk some of those practices for them, and more importantly, to increase adoption of the technologies. We are also coupled with the capacity in the land-grant university system. And I think together we bring decades of expertise to this topic. We've seen that our severe weather events are becoming more frequent, more extreme. And so innovation and technology have been the answer to our biggest challenges in the past. And I believe that the REE agencies and the land-grant universities together are positioned to be able to support the priorities of the Congress and of the administration. And if confirmed, I look forward to continuing our impactful work that we have underway inside of USDA and working with our land-grant partners.
Thank you. Professor Schlanger, the USDA, as you know, has a long history of discrimination, unfortunately, in both delivery of programs and among employees of the department. In recognition of the issues, longstanding issues in the department, how will you work to address discrimination moving forward?
Thank you for the question, Madam Chairwoman. I think that we have to be relentless about a dual focus, one that is remedial and one that is forward-looking. So what I mean by that, and that's true for both programmatic and employment discrimination, and I look forward, if confirmed, to bringing that perspective to the Office of Civil Rights. So what I mean by that is that there has to be a working backward-looking process, one that can take complaints, address them fairly, efficiently, and effectively, solve the problems that the complainants bring forward, offer them a solution, or if there turns out to not be a discriminatory problem, tell them that so that they and the agency can move on. And that's a backward-looking, a necessary backward-looking component of a program. In addition, both that set of inputs and many other sets of inputs have to inform a forward-looking solution that examines programs and makes sure that they are set up to succeed with respect to inclusion as well as all of the other things that they are trying to accomplish. We have to do a forward-looking barrier analysis and understand solutions that way.
Thank you. Dr. Jacobs-Young, Michigan is the second most diverse state in agricultural production, from specialty crops and organics to local food systems and extensive urban agriculture as well. What are the biggest research challenges facing these farmers, and how can USDA better support the diversity of agricultural production through research and extension?
Thank you, Senator Stabenow. In urban agriculture, what we find is that we have the same issues we face in other parts of our agriculture production practices. We have pest and disease management research, breed development for indoor growth, and more importantly, energy consumption. And so in USDA ARS, we've developed software to help be able to predict how much energy an indoor agriculture process may need, for example. And so we're working very hard to make sure that urban agriculture is a significant component of our food production in America.
I think it's so important as we go forward. One of the successes we've had with the Farm Bill is representing and embracing all parts of agriculture, all regions, all sizes, from very large to very small, and the important contributions from each of those sectors. So I look forward to working with you on this. Senator Bozeman.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and Dr. Jacobs-Young, thank you for a very informative meeting yesterday. The topic that we covered was the importance of the National Agricultural Law Center, a distinguished enterprise housed at the University of Arkansas. As you know, this center serves a vital role not only for congressional members and their staff, but for agriculture producers and stakeholders across the country. Their partnership with the National Agriculture Library, which of course you're familiar with from your time at the Agriculture Research Service, is very important to me and very important to agriculture in general. I appreciate you noting that in our conversation yesterday. Another issue that's very important to me is biotechnology. The United States should be the tip of the spear in driving advancements in both plant and animal biotechnology. While these technologies face a troubling regulatory environment with other agencies, the Department of Agriculture has traditionally proven to take a risk-based and science-driven approach to facilitating rather than impeding these technologies. I believe the remission area has a critical role to play in the development and adoption of new tools. Dr. Jacobs-Young, please share with us your thoughts on the role of newer technologies in the future of U.S. agriculture, and if confirmed, how will you lead the mission area in this critical work?
Thank you for your question, Senator Bozeman. Very, very importantly, we know that the population is growing. You know, we're expected to be somewhere near 10 billion by the year 2050. And so we have a need to grow more food. At the same time, we have a need to protect the environment. And so we know historically the innovation, the Green Revolution, for example, were the only way we were able to meet these types of challenges. we have to have every tool in our arsenal to be able to meet the challenges before us. There's not an either or. We can't grow more food or protect the environment. We have to be able to do both. And in order to do that, we need to use advanced technologies. In the Agricultural Research Service, we are pushing the envelope on innovation. Using advanced tools and techniques, bringing those techniques to crops, specialty crops that typically would not use advanced tools and techniques. And so being able to spread that information will shorten the time from discovery to dissemination. And so we must have advanced tools and technologies in our toolbox in order to meet the needs. I know that globally, we've also shared this message on the global stage. If confirmed, I look forward to continuing to really impress upon others the importance of using biotech, gene editing, when appropriate, when needed, in our toolbox.
Very good. Dr. Jacobs-Young, you know firsthand the importance of the land-grant university system. You're the product of a land grant. I'm also the product of a land grant. In Arkansas, we have two distinguished land-grant institutions, my alma mater, the University of Arkansas, and the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff, both of which do great work in agricultural, academics, research, and cooperative extension. Arkansas Pine Bluff in particular has done some great work through their aquaculture and fisheries centers of excellence. As a member of the Appropriations Committee, we've invested as much as we can into our land-grant institutions, and the return on that investment is always very, very high. However, there never seems to be enough resources. If confirmed, what will you do to help our land-grant universities focus their resources to make the best use of the taxpayer dollars?
So thank you again. You know, I joined USDA 2 decades ago with the Cooperative State Research, Education, and Extension Service, and it was then that I learned the power of the partnership between USDA and our land-grant university system. In fact, 1/3 of ARS's labs are located on land-grant university campuses, so we work side by side. If confirmed, I commit to continuing the engagement and working with our land-grant partners to prioritize and seek partnerships and collaborations around leveraging our resources to meet our biggest challenges.
Very good. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Speaking of technology, we'll turn to Senator Smith virtually and then go to Senator Fisher.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Ranking Member. I'm glad to be with you, and I want to thank both of our nominees, Dr. Jacobs-Young and Ms. Schlanger, for your willingness to serve our country in the USDA. Thank you so much, Dr. Jacobs-Young, for our meeting yesterday. It was wonderful to have a chance to visit with you, and as we discussed, I think that your deep knowledge of the department and your long experience there will make you an excellent leader in this role that you're being considered for. And before I begin my questions, I want to just start out by inviting you both to Minnesota. I suspect that my colleague, Senator Klobuchar, will join in this invitation. Dr. Jacobs-Young, we'd love to have you come visit the Agriculture Research Service facility in Morris, Minnesota. That Morris facility houses the North Central Soil Conservation Research Lab and was slated for closure by the Trump administration. Luckily, the Minnesota congressional delegation, appreciating the importance of this facility, worked to keep it open and funded, and I think you would really appreciate the work that is being done there and the research that has been done there. Would love to have you come in and visit us. Let me.
Thank you, Senator
Awkwardness
Smith.
of virtual discussions. Pardon me.
Yeah, I look forward to visiting our teams at Morris, Minnesota. Every March when we're in person, their supporters and many of the scientists come into Washington, D.C., and I get to visit with them often. And thank you for the support of that laboratory. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Well, we touched on this a little bit yesterday, Dr. Jacobs-Young. Minnesota has a diverse farming community. Hmong, Native, Latino, Somalia, and Black farmers all play a really integral role in the Minnesota agricultural sector and in our state's small business community. And I often hear from them, as I said to you yesterday, how the USDA does not do enough to provide support to farmers of color and communities of color. And I have asked many of the nominees before this committee what they think, what you think the USDA can and should be doing, both internally and externally, to remove barriers facing farmers of color as well as business owners of color. I see my colleague Senator Booker on the screen, as well as Senator Warnock, who have been such strong advocates and of this issue as well. So let me ask both of you, Dr. Jacobs-Young and Ms. Schlanger, could you, we can acknowledge that the USDA has historically had a blind spot when it comes to communities of color. What do you think the USDA should be doing to acknowledge this and to help farmers of color and business owners of color in the ag sector get access to all USDA programs?
Thank you, Senator Smith. Absolutely. We have Secretary Vilsack has a priority to remove the barriers and increase inclusion in our programs, and that includes our scientific programs. We recognize that we need to take a look at our scientific programs through a more inclusive lens. We prioritize, certain segments of the agriculture industry. We need to listen to our farmers of color to find out what are their highest priorities. I met with the National Bison Association about a week ago, and I learned a lot about what we need to do in terms of protecting and helping to produce products that are specific to bison, and because they typically use products that are slated for cattle. So there are things that we can do. We can store germplasm. We can share germplasm. There are a number of efforts that we need to put in place, and it starts by listening. And if confirmed, I plan to do a lot of listening to find out what are the highest priority efforts we can undertake.
Thank you. Ms. Schlanger?
Thank you, Senator. As you know, I think that addressing the problem that you've just brought up is about the most important thing that that I can do if I'm confirmed. The reaching out to communities that have been and have felt excluded from USDA programs and learning what they see as the barriers to access, and making sure that they have the information they need to get full and equal access is just vitally important. We need to not only listen, we need to pay attention to what we learn, and we need to check in often as we're implementing change to make sure that that change is not just aspirational, but is being felt on the ground.
Thank you very much. I know that I'm out of time. I'll yield back. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Senator Fisher.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Dr. Jacobs-Young, as you know, the University of Nebraska at Lincoln is currently working with the Agricultural Research Service to create the National Center for Resilience and Regenerative Precision Agriculture at Nebraska Innovation Campus in Lincoln. The center is an example of how public-private partnerships can be created to accelerate the translation of science into practice and ensure that American agriculture remains the leader in feeding and fueling a growing world sustainably. I'm very appreciative of the excellent partnership between ARS and UNL and excited to continue working together to bring the center online. Would you speak to how the center aligns with the USDA's science blueprint? Specifically, what science gaps currently exist that ARS recognizes must be addressed for the future success of our agriculture in this country?
Thank you so much, Senator Fisher. I'm very excited about the new facility, and we are engaging in discussions with the University of Nebraska to talk about the specifics for the facility and the specifics for the program. And we're still in discussions with Nebraska about the program. What is advantageous for us is the co-location that we have on those campuses across the country, and UNL is just a great example of that. Not only on your Lincoln campus, but also at our Clay Center facility, at our Meat and Animal Research Center. And without those partnerships, we couldn't be successful. And I think the head of the University of Nebraska is an ARS alumni. And so we're very excited to work with Dr. Ronnie Green and their team there as we plan to move forward. I would love to follow up with you if confirmed to talk about our very specific details of that plan as it moves along.
Great. I appreciate that. And you brought up the U.S. Meat Animal Research Center that we do have at Clay Center. With the current administration's focus on sustainability and climate change, do you agree that agriculture, especially livestock, can play a positive role in helping to meet the climate goals that we have set?
I believe that farmers and producers must be a part of the solution to meet the challenges that we face. And some of the important research that's happening there at Mark will be a part of that equation. They're doing some very important work on sustainability and environmental impact.
Thank you. I'm happy to hear that. I think anyone who has had experience, especially looking at rangeland, sees the positive effects that animal impact have on the land itself. And also the vegetation on that land if it's managed correctly. So I appreciate that. Thank you. Also, as the administration continues to focus on addressing climate change concerns through agriculture, one concern that I have heard as it relates to carbon markets is how early adopters of certain conservation practices fit within those markets. Take Nebraska, for example, which has long been using practices like no-till to improve soil health, while also decreasing water and fertilizer usage. Can you discuss what research USDA is doing or that you hope for USDA to do that would help to quantify the impacts that early and long-term adopters of conservation practices have already had? You mentioned earlier farmers need to be a part of this. It comes as no surprise to people who live on the land and manage the land that many, for decades, have participated in conservation stewardship. What do you see being able to move that positive story into the future?
Right. Thank you. So, the words that come to my mind when we think about the conservation and the role of farmers and producers is voluntary, is incentives, is engagement. And I think, honestly, bringing them into the process is going to be the best solution. We have the Long-Term Agroecosystem Research Network, the 18 sites, and we have the 10 climate hubs where we're involving the producers in the discussions in the scientific process that we can reduce the risk from a research basis. And so we want to be able to also better quantify the impact. And so we're looking at technology. Technology, again, developing sensors to be able to measure, have we made an impact? Have we made a difference? And so we're conducting that research every day, and we hope to be able to, if confirmed, I hope to be able to come back and talk about where we are.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I believe we have Senator Booker with us electronically.
Yes, I hope you can hear me, Chairwoman.
Yes, absolutely.
Fantastic. I just want to say good morning to both of our extraordinary witnesses testifying today for their confirmations. I want to just jump right in. I know it's been mentioned already, but the USDA has well-documented, really terrible history of discrimination against Black farmers and other farmers of color. Over the past 100 years, discrimination against Black farmers by the USDA has caused these farmers to lose millions of acres of land, robbing these farmers and their families of billions and billions of dollars worth of generational wealth. And for farmers who have suffered USDA direct discrimination and then filed civil rights complaints to ask for help, these farmers have very often been mistreated a second time by the USDA and have had their complaints ignored or dismissed by the Office of Civil Rights. Despite the fact that we know that discrimination has been rampant, the Civil Rights Office almost never makes findings of discrimination. Ms. Schlanger, you will have your work cut out for you, and I know you understand this. You have a challenge to reform the office that has really proven resistant to change over the years. And I guess my first question very directly is, if you are confirmed, what will you do, not just to speed up the process, which is critical, but to ensure that equitable investigation and adjudication of civil rights complaints happens?
Thank you, Senator. I appreciate that question very much. Complaints against the complaint process at USDA are pretty long-standing, and I think the principles for solution are pretty clear. The process has to be open and easy to access. It has to be fair. It has to be competent. It has to be able to accurately assess complaints, and it has to be speedy enough to actually solve violations if they're found and remediate. And it has to be speedy enough that if violations are not found, it can tell the complainants and have both them and the agency move on. And it has to offer effective remediation. It's also super important that complaints be used to understand where problems exist and to inform forward-looking problem solving. So I'm entirely committed, if I'm privileged to be confirmed, to bringing these principles to bear on the existing process and to understanding it and understand what's really going on with it as very best I can. I have some experience revamping civil rights complaint processes, and so I can commit to working very hard and in, I think, an experienced way to get that done. But I'm going to need to get behind the walls to understand what's really going on and say exactly what the problems are and how they should be solved. And I don't think I can commit right now to exactly what the solutions are because I need better information on the source of the problems that have been complained about for so many years.
I really appreciate that. And another sort of area of complaint, which I know you're aware of, is the serious concerns raised for many years that the staff at the USDA's General Counsel's Office have been improperly reviewing and resolving discrimination complaints. And so if you're confirmed, can you commit to ensuring that there will be a substantive firewall maintained between the General Counsel's Office and the Civil Rights Office for all civil rights complaints?
Thank you for that question as well, Senator. I know from experience that the relationship between the Office of General Counsel and a Civil Rights Office is really important. What's key is to be clear about the roles. The General Counsel's Office provides legal advice, and the Civil Rights Office needs to get that legal advice. But it's the Civil Rights Office that adjudicates complaints, and it's the Civil Rights Office that offers policy advice for going forward. So the Civil Rights Office needs OGC support when it needs legal advice, but it needs independence and respect as well. So exactly how to make those lanes clear is going to require some future conversations. I've been lucky enough to have a couple of conversations, not about the nitty-gritty of it, but just about the ideas with the General Counsel, Janie Hips, and I'm confident that we'll be able to work this out. I think the principle that I can commit to you is that the Civil Rights Office needs independence and it needs respect, and I will do everything I can to make that happen.
I'm grateful for that, and I know my time is up. I'll just say that, you know, the things like training and outreach that the Civil Rights Office has done in the past really haven't amounted to cultural change towards the resolution of complaints, towards making sure, frankly, that corrective actions are taken. So I just really appreciate your focus here, and there are a number of us on the committee that this is a very serious concern of ours, and I'm excited about the prospect of you getting confirmed and being a real impact player and changing what has been a very long, awful history of discrimination, lack of action, over bureaucracy, and more. So thank you very much. Thank you, Chairwoman.
Thank you very much. Senator Marshall.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair, and welcome to both of our guests. One of my big concerns is people in the federal government working remotely. Whether it's an FSA office or folks that work for ERS or for NIFA, I don't think people are nearly as efficient. And that's true in the private world. I think studies are starting to show that people working remotely are probably 85% as efficient as they were beforehand. And my first questions will be go to Dr. Jacobs-Young, of course, regarding ERS and NIFA. These offices were moved to Kansas City, getting us closer to where the action is. We don't grow a lot of wheat here in the bubble. Not many cattle are raised here in the Washington, D.C. bubble, so I think it's great these USDA employees are out there on the front line. 90% of USDA employees are located outside of the D.C. area. Dr. Jacobs-Young, on the annual hiring data available on the HR dashboards for the most recent pay period for ERS and NIF employees in Kansas City, what is listed currently as their duty station? Is it Kansas City or is it Washington, D.C.?
Currently, we have ERS and NIFA employees in Kansas City, and ERS and NIFA has also some representatives in Washington, D.C. The administrators, the heads of the agencies are stationed in Washington, D.C., and some auxiliary team members are here. So we have employees for those agencies.
So is their official duty station listed as Kansas City and they're working remotely, or is their official duty station still listed for the ones here that are in D.C., or is the duty station listed as here?
Sir, I do not have that data at top of mind, but would be happy to follow up with you on that.
Great, we'd appreciate that. And I'm hoping that the answer is going to be is that the duty station is listed as Kansas City, and assuming that's the case, I'd hope you'd let this committee know if there's a change in that permanent duty station as well. And again, the emphasis is remote work just doesn't work as well. The local community, Kansas City, put up incentives to have those employees working in Kansas City, and I hope that there is a contingency plan if we end up letting those people work remotely to help reimburse those cities as well. So we want to stay attuned to that great opportunity. You know, no agriculture committee would be complete without talking about NBAF, the National Bio-Agro Defense Facility in Manhattan, Kansas, my alma mater, home of the ever-fighting Wildcats. And my question for you is, are you committed to ensuring the mission at NBAF is safe, effective, and properly funded?
I am completely engaged in the NBAF process and have been working with our teams for the past 7 or 8 years, and I know there have been others who've been at it much longer. I am committed to staying engaged with the transition of NBAF from Department of Homeland Security to USDA. We are committed to hiring. We have done a fantastic job hiring for NBAF, and the facility has been designed to be extremely safe. I trust the safety of that facility, and I'm committed to staying engaged with your teams as well as the DHS and our USDA teams as we move forward on meeting the milestones.
And that sounds great. This question, I guess, for both of you can answer it. What type of impact will the vaccine mandate have on USDA? Any idea what percentage of your employees at USDA are not vaccinated yet, and how that's going to impact the department going forward?
Thank you for that question. Since I'm in USDA, I'm probably in a better position, Margo, to answer. I can speak for ARS, where I'm the administrator. We have a small portion of our agency that has either not been vaccinated or has not finished the reasonable accommodation process. And so actually we don't see a significant impact in terms of what will be the impact of the mandate on our agency.
So, I mean, not having a significant impact to me would mean like only 2 or 3% of your folks aren't vaccinated, versus in most national places, every organization I talk to, it's more like 30% of folks aren't vaccinated. Our FSA officers and our CS officers, those people out in the field, I'm going to expect that a third of them are not vaccinated. Are you telling me that 99% of the people at USDA across the country are vaccinated?
What I am sharing is in an ARS, a science agency, that we have. I do not see us being significantly impacted by the number of people not vaccinated or not receiving reasonable accommodation.
Okay, thank you, Chairwoman. I yield back.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Senator Warnock and then Senator Tuberville.
Well, thank you so very much, Madam Chair. And Ms. Schlanger, congratulations on your nomination to this important position, and it's important for so many reasons. Let me be very blunt. The track record of the USDA with respect to civil rights has been abysmal. And the department has historically failed to provide justice to farmers of color in general, but particularly black farmers. Black farmers have literally suffered at the hands of their own government. And we're living with that legacy now. I spent some time in Byronville, Georgia, talking to black farmers, and all across Georgia for that matter. And I've heard this directly from them. Discriminatory practices by USDA have cost them financially. It's caused a lot of distress for them and their families, pushed them off their land. If confirmed, what will you do differently? What will you do? Will you be the tip of the spear for dealing with discrimination claims against the department?
Thank you, Senator, for that question. As you know, this is among the very highest priorities for anyone who's leading civil rights at USDA. What I think needs to be emphasized is that there has to be both a backward-looking and a forward-looking solution, that we have to have a working complaint process so that people who have experienced problems have a place to turn to get remediation, and a system that addresses their complaint in a fair, efficient, and effective way, and addresses it speedily enough that there's some hope that they can actually get the remediation they need, which means not 3 years, say, or 4 years. In addition, we need a forward-looking solution. We need to take the wisdom of the people who have experienced problems, both the ones who have been denied completely access, so they have not been participants in USDA programs, and the ones who have been partial participants. They've been participants, but they've felt barriers to their flourishing by way of those programs. We need to take their wisdom and we need to use that as part of the civil rights culture that we need to build going forward. So if confirmed, I pledge to do both of those things.
Well, you know how serious this issue is, and we're talking about folks who've been disappointed time and time again. I think about the Pickford settlements, for example. Could you be more specific? What specific actions will you take to make sure that farmers of color and black farmers in particular are treated fairly?
Yeah, thank you, Senator. I hesitate to give very many specifics for two reasons. One is I really think it's important to learn from the communities that have been affected, and I don't want to commit to a path forward without having them be included in building that path. And so I feel that it's a little premature to say this is the solution until I have heard officially from communities of color what they think the path forward should look like. But
do you agree that these concerns should be prioritized in your work?
Absolutely, Senator. Yes,
and
I do.
You will agree to commit to working with me on this to make sure that these farmers get justice?
Yes, I will.
And that their families are made whole?
I will absolutely commit to you to work with you and to work with them as well to solve the problems that they have experienced. Absolutely.
Dr. Jacobs-Young, congratulations, and it's always good to welcome somebody from Georgia. USDA's National Institute of Food and Agriculture provides funding for 1890 land-grant universities. These historically black colleges and universities like Fort Valley State University in Georgia, one of our rivals when I was a student at Morehouse. They support diversity within the agriculture sector and provide valuable services to historically underserved communities. I've been proud to work with Senator Brown and other members of this committee to push for more funding for the 1890 land-grant universities, if confirmed. How will you uplift our 1890 institutions and ensure that they have the resources they need to prepare students for careers in agriculture?
I've been working with the 1890s for 2 decades now. When I first joined the Cooperative State Research Education Extension Service in 2002. I was just with them last week, Dr. Paul Jones and the research directors for the 1890s. If confirmed, I commit to continuing those conversations with the leadership for the 1890s to build on the legacy of our partnerships and expand on the potential that we know is there. And so we depend on them for a critical part of training the next generation of ag professionals, being a conduit to the community so that we can have our ears to the ground. And so I commit to continue to build and expand those partnerships.
Yeah. Well, I'm always impressed when I'm down at Fort Valley. That's not an easy thing for a Morehouse man to say. But these students are impressive. The faculty are impressive. And I think we should do everything we can to expand their pathway for involvement in the ag sector. Thank you so much, and good luck to both of you.
Thank you very much. Senator Tuberville, you have been bumped by Senator Thune, so he is on remotely, and then we will turn to you. Thank you. Senator Thune.
Thanks, Madam Chair. And I just want Senator Tuberville to know I did not choose to bump him. That's not my call. Let me start. I want to thank our nominees for their willingness to serve and for appearing before the committee to answer our questions. Before I turn to my questions for the nominee, I want to voice my concern that we're nearly a year into the Biden administration and we still don't have a chief ag negotiator in place at the office of the U.S. Trade Rep. In addition, the administration has not even announced a nominee to serve as the USDA Undersecretary for Trade and Foreign Agricultural Affairs. It's becoming clear that this administration is not prioritizing our agricultural trade interests, and I urge the administration to make filling these roles in order to advance our U.S. ag trade interests a top priority going forward. Dr. Jacobs-Young, I recognize that climate's a top priority at USDA under this administration, but we need to make sure that we're focusing attention and resources on efforts to advance the production agriculture capabilities of farmers and ranchers as they continue working to feed, clothe, and fuel a growing global population. If confirmed, what actions would you take to make sure that various research, education, and economic needs of production agriculture remain a priority?
Thank you, Senator Thune, for your question. And in line with our history in the agricultural industry in terms of the research, the impactful research that's been conducted with ARS, if confirmed, I commit to working with NIFA, ERS, NASS, and ARS to make sure that we continue to hear from our ag producers and to conduct research that is the highest priority for them. I believe that this is a window of opportunity to be transformational in the work that we're doing for agriculture. Ag is a high-tech industry, and we are pushing the envelope on technologies like artificial intelligence, machine learning. We talked a little bit about advanced techniques like biotechnology and gene editing. I think that there are opportunities to do even more than we have done in the past, and I'm very proud of the past, of the impact that we've had on productivity in agriculture. For example, I use this example because it was just so impressive to me. I had Louisiana sugarcane growers who came in and talked about having an extremely cold winter, and in the past they would have lost their production, and instead they had a record crop because of the varieties and the breed varieties that had been developed in our Houma, Louisiana laboratory. And that's just one example of many. I think about dairy cows and the increased production of milk with fewer cows, and which means a smaller environmental footprint. Those are the types of stories that I get to hear from the producers every year on the impact that science has had on their production. And so I commit to even expanding on that, if confirmed.
Let me ask, if confirmed, you would be tasked with overseeing the National Agricultural Statistics Service, or NASS, which provides data on U.S. agricultural production. In the past, South Dakota producers have raised concerns about the accuracy of NASS reports. If confirmed, what actions would you take to strengthen the integrity and accuracy of NASS reports that producers rely on?
Thank you for that question. In terms of working with NASS, I've worked with Administrator Hamer for the last 7 years as leaders of sister agencies, and I know that Administrator Hamer is committed to listening. I know that he is committed to continuous process improvement and modernization. So if confirmed, I look forward to working very closely with Mr. Hamer and the agriculture community to ensure that we're listening and responding as appropriate.
That would be great. That's been a kind of a chronic issue that producers in my state have dealt with, just accuracy, reliability, and I hope that you would make that a focus. Ms. Schlanger, I don't have much time left, but one of the greatest challenges in delivering USDA programs is the exceptionally broad range of program recipients from underserved areas with little or no technical capability to producers with the latest in technology and equipment. And one area I'd like you to review is USDA program delivery on our Native American reservations. If confirmed, will you commit to looking into ways for USDA to provide additional extension agents and educational opportunities in Indian country?
Thank you for that question, Senator. I don't think that my office, if I'm confirmed, has the authority to do what you're proposing, but I absolutely commit to discussing whether, discussing with the people who would benefit from that change, what they need, how they need it, and then to working within the department to remove the barrier to access that you've just identified. So yes, I do.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair. My time's expired. Thanks.
Thank you very much. We're just discussing timing since I need to adjourn the meeting here in just a couple of moments. And so I'm going to, I can recognize Senator Braun, ask unanimous consent that he be our last questioner. I'm sorry to do that. Anyone else is certainly welcome to put it in the record. But if there's not objection, I will ask that Senator Braun ask his questions, and then we will adjourn the meeting.
Madam Chair, if I can make a very brief statement, then I would certainly agree to that. I just want to greet our witnesses and particularly thank them. And I just have to make one quick point in that there were two great athletes on the Hill yesterday. One, of course, was Matt Scherzer, obviously a great pitcher. But the other is our candidate for ARS director. She actually is at least one time record holder in the high jump at North Carolina State University, 5 feet 10.5 inches. And to be able to do that and get a PhD in engineering is something I just felt I had to mention at this hearing. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Points worth making, so thank you. And Senator Braun, I will let you be our last senator to ask questions today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Enjoyed my conversation with both of you just yesterday. And I'll start with Dr. Jacobs-Young. I've been an outspoken member of this committee about how important it is to make sure the family farm maintains its viability over time, because there's not been an enterprise that is more difficult where the risk financially is heightened every year. And it seems like when we do get good markets, all of a sudden input prices keep going up. So I'm interested in knowing whether, as acting undersecretary for the research side of it, education and economics, and especially farm economics, do you recognize that problem? Does it have to do with like many other industries, we're getting too concentrated at the top? And how will you develop, or how will you aim your focus at what I consider to be an increasingly significant problem year after year?
Senator Braun, thank you for that question, and thank you for our visit on yesterday. If confirmed, I have an opportunity to work with Dr. Spiro Stefano and the Economic Research Service, who has their mission to anticipate trends and emerging issues, and they, more importantly, they have an opportunity to tell us what impact certain policies will have on agriculture and the ag industry. I commit, if confirmed, to working with Dr. Stefanow to really to take a look at what you're bringing up in terms of the cost to farmers. I think about the Secretary's priority to create economic opportunities. We're conducting research every day to really try to find added value agricultural products for our producers, our small farmers, specialty crops, for example, targeted community systems. And so I commit to doing that, and if confirmed, I would love to follow up with you after working with Dr. Stefanow.
Well, thank you for the intention to put focus on it, and I'll always be there because I keep my ear to the pavement when it comes to those issues, and it's growing in concern every year. Thank you. Ms. Schlanger, we had an interesting conversation, and I did ask you about the fact that in 2020 we were seeing cases actually reduced when it comes to civil rights discrimination as it relates to farming. Were you able to look into that any further to see if that was because they were being remediated in a beneficial way? Was it a good trend that we were going towards? And then I have one other question, so reserve about a minute at the end of this answer here.
Thank you, Senator Braun. It was good to talk with you yesterday, and I appreciate the question today. No, because I'm not yet within USDA, I don't have access to any information that isn't public. I did review the report that you referred to, and it doesn't have enough information to answer your question, which is the reduction in complaints a sign of improved program delivery, or is it a sign of extra barriers to access to the complaint system? I don't know the answer, but I do pledge to figure it out.
And I just asked that if, in fact, we were moving in the right direction, and just because it was maybe under a different administration, that it would be good not to reflexively maybe be against something that is ready, showing some merit. The USDA, this committee, has historically had a very kind of low-key, bipartisan kind of tone to it, and I do know that prior to applying for this job, you've been outspoken, through the public media. For examples, COVID-19, nursing home deaths during the Trump administration, border family separation, Supreme Court cases. Is that something you would continue to be out there with, or would you moderate it given the fact that this has generally not been the forum for that?
Thank you for the question, Senator. I appreciate it. If I am confirmed to this job, I plan for it to get 100% of my efforts, and I will not be writing the kinds of articles that you refer to or making the kinds of appearances that you refer to.
I think that's a wise course of action, and I'm glad that you've indicated that that will be the case. Thank you.
I appreciate the question.
Thank you all for being here today. That concludes today's hearing. The record will remain open until tomorrow at 5 p.m. for members to submit additional questions or statements. And with that, the hearing is adjourned.